for your attention. I think this is a sign of the fact that our topic is very actual. The topic of the development of the concept for development for industry is not new. The Russian Federation urged for more transparency. So our discussion today will be one of the evidence for it. And we have the representative of the Ministry of Industry and Trade here, the representative of business here. I would like to make an announcement. Mr. Manturov will leave, unfortunately, will leave us earlier. And the first deputy of the will be here with us. This Gleb Nikitin, the first deputy of the Ministry of Industry and Trade of the Russian Federation. The state, it is always said that the state don't govern the investments in very good way. But this subject is discussed in all countries of the world. In Saudi Arabia, always said that. This is a very important topic. We would like to know what tasks we see before this new fund and why exactly on this fund, exactly this ministry took this topic before it to create this fund. As to effectiveness, the state governance, I want like to comment on this topic because the state industry and private industry, if we compare these topics, if the boss, if the governance is good, is okay, that the result also will be great. This fund is created not for management of some particular project. This fund must provide primary financing, which will provide the development of projects or modernization, upgrading a particular business or a company with subsidiary financing. So managers will be govern this project, will be attracted, will be provided with by this fund. So the main task is to provide financing and modernization for companies with better technology. This is the main task which we put before our industry. And you know that the 1st January of 2015, a new law about environment protection will be put in effect, which provides better technology for investment industries up to 2020. So our tasks are to provide most favorable transfer for our companies to work in this new environment. So our fund develops these new guidelines, and we use Russian technology, which we have a lot already, which provide the transfer to go on the new levels for companies in different fields of industry, which need to be upgraded in accordance with new ecological standards. And of course, we are interested in new projects and new industries new examples of production of products, which is difficult to commercialize in mass production. So this fund is needed, which will provide the opportunity for such type of companies subsidies. And we think 5% of taxes, this is a normal level, comfortable for any project, both in machinery production and in any new development of production. We think that financing for research and development and designing will give us the opportunity to get commercial effect, to get commercial credits and loans, which now don't want to fund such type of commercial companies. So these are our tasks which we put before us. And for the next 5 years as minimum, we are going to attract through financing from the state, and we put the level of 60 to 70 billion rubles for these 5 years. And we believe that 1 to 10 level, and it means 600, 700 billion rubles extra budgetary resources for projects will be multiplying and will give the additional volume, because this is the return financing. And we think to reinvest in the same fields of industry. This is the very short description of our activity. But I tried to ask your first question. And companies which are using the instruments for support from your ministry, can they use simultaneously money of the fund for development? Companies which now use the state support from the Ministry of Industry and Trade or Ministry of Education and Science. If we are speaking about research and development, this is there is some contradiction with the main tasks of this new fund, because this fund will provide money for finishing the R&D, but the task about which you're asking should be financing through special funds, for instance, venture funds, and commercialization in the future can be provided through this fund, and to attract commercial banks for attracting credits, loans on commercial rates, to implement into life these projects which you mentioned. So using state support can be used in this case, not in the stage, not in the fields which are already financing with this fund. So, first of all, this is the support of new industries, but do you have traditional fields of industry among your supported groups? Of course, this is traditional, conventional industries. I've already mentioned it. I've already said so that our main task to provide transfer and modernization for businesses, for companies, which will be in compliance with the with our requirements, which will be put before them up to 2020. We are speaking about companies which exist today, and of course about new directions when we are speaking about the creation of new projects and developing of new companies. And of course, we will take into account the best technology. But on the primary stage, of course, it's easier to do than modernize the old production. So our existing industry and new industries, new direction of developments for our industry, this is our main tasks. And another question, please. We have representatives of big businesses of Russia and medium-scale businesses here. What do you think how it will be divided between big businesses and medium-scale businesses? Do you have can you give us some information about that? I think that the approach and criteria which we should implement here, and we need to discuss all the criteria up to November 2014 for the whole transparency of this process. Businesses who would like to have subsidies for their businesses of existing projects and for new projects. As I've already said, the main criterion should be the election of these projects, because it should be providing launching of products which don't exist now in the market, and where we have all the products where we have the potential to replace import products with our domestic products. So the main characteristics should be a new market for these products. And I repeat, providing of smooth transferring for our companies into a new environments. This is our main task, and providing all necessary conditions for this transferring are very important. And 20 billion rubles, we are speaking about the budget 2014. Up to the end of this year, we will provide financing of this fund with this sum, and 18 billion rubles for the next 3 years. This is already in the project for budget for 2015 to 2018. And with effectiveness of implementation such type of projects, our government will support us, and we are ready for bigger volume of projects for maximizing effectiveness and transfer all our industry into new route, into new technology, to meet all the requirements for characteristic which I've already set for 2020. We have a range of Institute for Development, and you've said about criteria for election. What criteria for effectiveness will you use, and how will you assess the effectiveness of this new Institute for Development? This is a very good question. We will put this criteria, this characteristic, KPI, in guidelines of our fund. But on the basis of these requirements should be, of course, meeting the parameters and our goals and tasks, which we already discussed today. And the head of our fund should provide financing primarily for the projects and for businesses and companies which meet the requirements for new technology, for better and accessible, affordable technology. This will be the main criterion. We will put these parameters into our guidelines, and when we achieve these requirements, we can have motivation in remuneration for our employers. And of course, we need to make expertise of our projects. You repeat several times the leading persons of our funds, and I would like to give the floor Mr. Rogachev, one of the leaders of this fund. We will have the opportunity to ask questions for Mikhail Borisovich. Even in the lobby, I heard rebranding or FTR, Russian Fund of Technological Development, which you are head of. Yes, I am head of this fund, and there is no bad in rebranding. And I don't.
Rebranding, as it is, I can't call this rebranding. It's launching the same tool once again. Here in this audience, you see two types of people.
Those with whom we have already been cooperating, smiling faces that have obtained already loans from my foundation, and those who haven't yet started to partner with us. And going to follow in the path stipulated by the President and the Foundation. All the targets are clearly set. I would like to remind you that the Russian Foundation of Technological Development is the base for industrial development, has a long history, is one of the first development institutions, and one of the most interesting development instruments. We heard a question here on business efficiency. Those who have seen our page know that I am myself from the business circles, and I've been trying to help relaunch this tool. I should say that I like that tool very much. The tool of extending special type of loan. And one of our features is the lack of a next further tool and the ability to live on grant funds. What we are doing, we are extending the tool we have in hand. We are going to apply this tool to resolve issues of industrial development we've been speaking about here. So the current most pressing issue is a certain lack of young staff. Existing credit products are not accessible for all the businesses. We would like to boost the volume, number of supported projects, and extend target usage of such tools for project works, for marketing, analytics, and we will divide the whole bulk into several projects, into the project of import substitution, the projects of well-worked through business plans with good performance figures, and you cannot get that without an adequate project base, without working with samples. So we hope that these projects will get an adequate banking support and will be connected with additional financing. So we also attract investment projects that will be further supported by such development institutions as Nedoroslev, and one of the most interesting fields we're working in is the projects of consortium businesses who need this or that technology. And I hope that the technology in question will be the best available that could be applied in the interest of all the stakeholders of a certain consortium. So this is a project of import substitution that is aimed at ousting imported products. I don't like the term import substitution here, because we should focus on substituting the foreign product by goods that will be demanded in the future, so competitive goods aimed for realization at the mature market. And of course, we're working here at the infrastructure level. Technological optimization is needed here at particular industries, particular production areas. Some of our factories are ecologically unfriendly, you surely know that, but we cannot get rid of these factories. So all the things that are done should be done in the name of the human well-being, not just for their own sake. So answering the question why our fund was selected, I should say that that's because we already have some streamlined projects. We have expertise in certain fields on light, diodes, and the sum of loan is 90 million rubles, and the credit is 7 billion rubles. So what we got in the end. So you see how how many funds we can attract, and with banks among our partners, we usually finance the R&D phase. So a lot of questions have been asked. Where can we get new projects? Because the market is already divided. We will cooperate with an engineering center, and you're welcome to come and see our stand at the exhibition here. We're going to dedicate our work to competent technology, develop technological platforms. Gleb Sergeyevich working here with the Ministry of Education and Science. We're going to base our efforts on special government registers. And we are going to slightly change the selection criteria. We plan to pay more attention to the technical level and readiness to implement a certain project. That's a additional criteria, and of course the reliability of a the business. Of course, attraction of engineering companies is also important, and we think that it is good that we can pay more attention to the stage of design. That's about 12% of the whole project, and that helps boost the efficiency of the project on the whole. So I won't go into detail here, mention all the criteria. The presentation will be available later. Expertise will be made on the base of two things: short tests will be, initial short tests will be conducted, and then more detailed analysis, and after that we will consider extending a tranche. So I hope that this will lower the expenses of businesses themselves. In fact, there are lots of examples of this procedure existing, and we would do our best to transfer the best practices of banking and other fields into our work. We're not rivaling with banks or development institutions. We are going to take our niche that is empty and that is waiting for us, so we are not taking the bread that was meant for somebody else. Thank you, Mikhail. Thank you. My question is both for Mikhail and Gleb, as one of the heads of the Ministry of Industry and Trade. How the getting back of the funds will be guaranteed. Of course, there are no super innovational ways of ensuring getting the funds back. That would be traditional, commonplace expertise and validating the solvency of a client. And our strong side is the technological and technical expertise. As to traditional ways of securing getting back of funds, like guarantees and other tools, here our priority task is not to be another institution of reverse financing, but we should be well balanced and secure the attitude, the setting for getting this type of loan, and to secure the getting the fund back. And of course we will largely depend on the quality of expertise that's available. I would like to remind you that we have practice of getting loans back by court, and of course we are going to stick to all the procedures that do exist in practice and attract all the ways that we can. Thank you so much. Mikhail Rogachev has already said that banks are not competitors of the newly created foundation. I would like to ask Alexei Matveyev, deputy of the board of directors of Gazprombank. Do you see competitors, or are they more partners than competitors? You sometimes hear from representatives of the banking sphere that the procedure of picking particular projects is very complicated, and can the creation of this particular foundation somehow influence this procedure? I don't see any competition here. If you're talking of the lifespan of a project, in the first stage there is no competition whatever, and the first and most important problem we face is that sometimes we receive people with good ideas, and they have half-ready technology, but that's not our specific type of activity to work with these types of client. So if something doesn't work, it's not our function to tell you that you'll have to wait. So everything depends on the quality of the business plan, on its detailed character, and the principal ability to make solutions. So if you scrutinize our practices, we work a lot with pre-project financing, about 600 billion rubles for this field, a very large sum for Russia indeed, and we're working in various fields. Lots has been done in sectors that have no connection with natural gas or oil, for example, pork production or some technical things. From the first meeting with the client up to the decision taken is 6 months, and this is a really good result, and I can tell you what this 6 months take. So first 4 months, there is close cooperation with the client, answering certain types of questions. So that is a good result. 4 months before we pass the results of our work to other departments, and this stage of work is void of emotion and very mature. Lawyers and financial consultants work with our clients. So where we can cut the whole program, we can get rid of the first 4 months. So people get ideas constantly, and that is an incessant process. What about rivalry? I don't see any rivalry in the literary sense of the word. So we can discuss things in order to avoid certain tensions in the future. As to the loan extension, they are usually extended for the term of 5 years, and I think that there's no such technology that can be improved and finalized faster than in 2 years. So and there are certain things we discuss with the fund, the terms of expiry of loans, and there is such thing as subordination of requirements. There are senior and junior stakeholders. If there is no formal subordination, then the senior is the one who pays for the loan faster. So there are a lot of other issues that are going to pop up in the process of work, and there are some types of loans that have procedures of automatic prolonging of expiry terms, and sometimes it's much more beneficial to use the tools that the foundation can give us. Thank you so much. Here we have heads of two major business associations of the country. I would like to address the question to Mr. Bansky and Sergey. Victor, president of PP. So what about these concepts of the foundation that's being discussed here today? You see that business interests are incorporated in this concept. So what are your recommendations to the Ministry of Industry and Trade? What can we do to guarantee that the foundation upholds really interesting projects? Thank you. Yes. For the Russian Union of Industry and Entrepreneurs, an initiative on the part of the government aimed at supporting businesses and the opportunity to back business initiatives is a positive thing and is positively perceived by business community, and unlike the initiative of strengthening fiscal burden. And of course, on that field, we're leading, we are conducting a very constructive dialogue too. So the project is a startup in itself, and there are a lot of gray zones. The initiative of Ministry of Industry and Trade that's supported by the ministry, and is personally involved in this project. We, together with the Russian Union of Entrepreneurs, have established a very rewarding cooperation with entrepreneurs, and we've implemented some methodical attitudes to the project. And the idea was first mentioned as part of the law of
Today, this idea is very actual, and it was ahead of the law itself. And in the first reading, and we believe that this will be in the autumn will be put into effect. And besides of the fund of development, there are a lot of very useful initiatives for Russian industry, starting from that part of the law will be the basis for terminology and ideology for the business, because we operate a lot of terms which were not put into our legislation, and on the basis of this law will put everything into their places. How to give names for them properly, and industrial parks, technoparks, and so on and so on. There are a lot of very useful initiatives, subsiding of rates, interest rates, and so on and so on. So the fund for industry was in the realization of this law, and we've got to the solution for modernizing, for improving for FRP. And what we heard in the report of the head of this organization, it's very good that it will be made not on the empty place. It will be done on the basis of what already been done. So, as it was already said, the legal basis, the basis for assessment, these are very important questions. The question of interaction with banks is also very important, and here we see our role in this process and how we would like to work in these relations. So the goal of this fund to put our industry into a new level, to replace the import products innovative technology which be implemented in our country. The term the best affordable technology, this is the very important term. We need to stop into this term and discuss it a little bit more, because you know that this notion was put into our Russian language from Western culture. It was the directive of European Union, and this is a creation for new technology to protect environment, for recycling the wastes, for industry, and creation of mechanisms for control and monitoring of these processes. And today I support it. And I'm very glad that the Ministry of Industry and Trade puts a new sense into this new notion, the very affordable technology, because we are speaking about the law, about the protection, the environment, and it will put into action from the 1st of January 2015. This is a very important law to work in this sphere. Industry should be not only safe in relation of protection the environment, but also to work in the way that it will be with the best productivity and investment into its own modern technology and equipment and products will lead to improve ecological and energy concept, how to put these terms together. We are now working on that, and I think that there will be a range of very important sessions and meetings on the level of Russian government will help to solve all these questions. As a representative of the RPP, we can suggest how to speed up all these processes. Now we are speaking about, now we are working on the law on standardization. It's very important that a special technical committee was created. It was a month ago. And now we have a platform where we can discuss everything and to make necessary decisions and to solve all the problems in this sphere. And now we have a mutual understanding of everything. And we will work out special guidelines. And this fund will help to all these processes to support research and development, to technical, economical feasibility studies, how to implement them into practice, how to validate and assess by special experts. We will see the implementation into life, and we will see the financing of these projects. There will be special guidelines in this sphere. And we believe that Gleb Sergeyevich will help me. I think in our ministry we are creating a special council on strategic development, if I am correct. And one of the committee of this council will work on the developments of the system of these guidelines. So developing of special guidelines of this standardization is very important. All business associations and interaction with all business associations will be very important part of this work. I think that it will be oriented also on the medium and small scale businesses, about returning of the investments, about the insurance of investments for banks. So we need to do a lot of work in this sphere. We have a range of committees, and we will develop these initiatives. Our committee will work on this, and committee on industry, and committee on protection the environment. All these committees will work into this. I know that you are a part of this working group, and my question to you, not how to a representative of the industry. What do you think? It will be niche for big businesses or for medium-scale businesses? Thank you very much that you have already mentioned that I am a representative of this council already. I think that it will be right to use this fund in the interests of medium-scale businesses. Because for startups, it's not very easy. The level of R&D of 300 million, this is the level of a company which is already working with a history and with a background, and which just wants to be modernized. Of course, it may be interested for small-scale businesses also if they meet these requirements. But they have other instruments for interaction. So our recommendation will be to use this fund for medium-scale businesses. Of course, we can divide businesses into small, big, and medium. We need to keep doors open and to work with a wide variety of businesses, which cannot work with bank investments directly to help them with it. So chairman of the organization, how to use this fund. Did you take into account them into your new conception? Thank you very much for such interesting question. As was already said about the scale of businesses, we need to understand that any big company was small many time ago, and somebody financed it in its time. So industry which use high technology, this is the state industry on different levels, on government levels, on municipal levels, on the regional levels, because these businesses provide for long-term very productive workplaces, and municipal authorities should support such type of industries, because if today we have family company, it will turn into big business in 30, for instance, years. For instance, take into account the example of Sweden. Sometimes people unite their budgets and they will survive in this case. You know, we have a lot of examples when we have bankruptcy of small businesses. Because Gidromash, for instance, Gidromash, this is the plant. The history of this plant had more than 200 years. It was supported by state for a long time, and today we have the same situation. This plant is supported. And of course, it's useful to have such type of fund, which we are discussing today. The Business Russia discussed this topic in many platforms. We took participation in many meetings, and in this relatively new platform, I need to repeat why we need it. Our banking system obviously is very effective. If we are speaking about third countries, about the productivity, we only on 2 points have the leading positions: banking system and retail. We have good networks, retail networks. But our networks was formed in 1990s when industry was represented only big companies after collapse of the USSR. And it's very important that we had owners which created this industry into effective companies. When banking system was forming, the policy of the central bank was oriented to restrict inflation and negative tendency. And industry was not implemented into this process. We can upgrade all the banking system. But we need to start from the policy of the central bank, and it will take 10 additional years. And we need to support small and medium businesses. We need to implement, invest in R&D, but it is not possible without the implementation into commercial things. If development, if design is good, if technology is good, and it's not implemented into real life, the technology will leave, and after that, constructors, after that, engineers will leave also. It will lead to a loss of very precious employees. I attended various platforms here, and I know that if we will not have some entire strategy, we need to solve this question locally. The Ministry of Industry has always supported us in this relation, and I would like to add that this fund was put in the bill of this legislation, and I didn't understand why it just was get lost. And 10 days ago, we got it in the State Duma in Mass for Action platform. The Fair Russia representative were there, the United Russia and other representatives, also communists were there, and we will support this project, this fund, into the second reading to put it into the legislation again. We need to agree with other commissions, and if it was put into the bill without it, I think that this is a very important idea. It's a well-timed idea. Thank you very much, Sergey. My question for Mr. Svinarenko, the president of the Fund for Educational Programs Rosnano. This fund has been working for 4 years already. I would like to use the words of Mikhail Borisovich, which mentioned that the Institute for Development I think that we are working on the same space, and there are a lack of projects in Russia. And even here on the Open Innovations, I think that there is a lack of the correct, proper projects, and which I know about the work of your fund, and maybe you will correct me. Your fund is very serious in the sphere of nano-industry. and other companies, engineering companies, other projects are oriented on other things, just not loved children. Am I correct? First of all, if we will speaking about the quantity of project and about a lack of them for increasing number of the Institute for Development, I think that you are both correct and not correct. You are right about the fact that the projects, some projects were finished, or they are coming to an end just now. And I think that in creation of this fund, which was initiated by the Ministry of Industry and Trade, this is a modified tool for looking for these projects. We have a situation now that the same people go through different funds and can call them grant-eating persons. And as the result, grant has nothing. But the same scheme we can see in almost every fund. We would like that other scheme will start to work. We need to work with business in the sphere of outsourcing. And they have plans. The fund has plans in this sphere, and it is planning to solve all these problems itself. But the problem for the question is for which type of companies this fund was created. I think that it's not so important. We need to create the scheme. We need to create the exact scheme how to work, who will be a borrower, who will be a creditor, and so on and so on, what the insurance system, and so on and so on. But now we have some engineering companies, around 300 companies, but there are other institutions of development, and we can use lifts, we can use cooperation, we can name it different names. This fund has a mandate, which was stipulated by the law, that we are working in nanotechnology. But nanotechnology, this is not a field of industry. This is interdisciplinary field. In many metallurgical companies and in oil refining industry and in chemical industry, we have such type of tasks which can be solved with nanotechnology. And these tasks, we are very interested in these tasks, and we are ready to take participation in the solving of such type of tasks. What do you think? Do we need a specialization of the Institute of Development? You have a specialization of nanotechnology, and you really demonstrate real success in this sphere. Without specialization, what do you think? The fund without specialization, will it have success or not? What do you mean? The fund of industrial development? I think there will be some priority defined. There will be a framework for each of them. From one hand, a quasi field and functional field. You heard already which kind of projects will be supported there. These are projects in a technical regulation with projects, designing work, conceptual projects. I think it will be meeting the field in which this fund will work.
A question for Victor. So we got an impression that participants of the discussion, I've been trying to discuss field specialization of the foundation, and I have an impression that participants don't want to speak about it, and the importance of ecology is very important. So eco-friendliness is of paramount importance. So I'd like all participants of our discussion to take a stand on this. So does this foundation need a field specialization? Are there any fields the Ministry of Industry and Trade is particularly interested in? And I've given an example of industry development foundation, public funds were used to create new industries, food and oil and other. So are there any field priorities? Can the same be applied to the Development Foundation? Thank you so much. These are comprehensive issues. I would like to be maximally brief. So as to field priorities, briefly stating, I think that a technological basis production is our main priority. Why? And this is the answer to the second question. And because the relation between policy and accessible technology today, as you know, a couple of weeks ago in Bratsk, a Council on Accessible Technology was held. We have a body that is meant to organize all the work and all the tools. And in Bratsk, we went to see an aluminum factory. And if the most accessible technology in the register will be Eco Soberberg, the volume of invested funds will be approximately $1 billion. And if we put to these registers the most important technology, the technology of preliminarily burned anodes, and with this technology being the priority, the volume of investment will be about $9 billion. You see the difference. So what is 1.9? This is what will be spent on systems that are accompanying. And can we see in this horizontal planning, and we should be long-term minded. We should have in mind 2019, 2020. We should be ready to do this quickly. When there will be reverberations to this law in the future, we should have our Russian producers ready, and a lot of equipment will need to be changed, substituted. And we had certain examples of renovating certain systems of gas cleaning. And our equipment is being exported to Sweden. So using the limited resources of the foundation, we should focus on those who will produce equipment that is used in transition to NTP. And this is the main priority. And this opportunity, this resource will allow us to support the enterprises that need this support. And this transition should be in the interest of Russian industry, first of all. So this is the interrelation of ecological and industrial policy. So question to all the participants. Creation of the Industry Development Foundation, will it bring about new field industries, or is it a separate point supports of the fields that are already here, already existent? You answered your question yourself. Take an industry. We don't have enough funds to create new industries. These are separate point measures of support for engineering companies, and we should get back the industry of engineering from abroad. I think this is one of the main field tasks, to get the engineering technology back, designers, and the restoring of engineering institutions is our main goal today. So that's my point of view. I support Mikhail's point of view. I think that the foundation in question is, first of all, not a tool of creating new fields of industry. It's a tool of supporting particular projects in this or that field, and no matter new or existing. And the importance of the Ministry of Industry and Trade is that of a strategic actor that should cooperate with the Ministry of Economy, with the government of the Russian Federation, in creating a tool of analysis of territorial placing of productive powers. So if this mechanism is launched, we will be able to influence this or that priority project implemented with the help of the foundation, and we'll be able to talk of priorities. And it will be foreseen by the strategy of our country's development. Thank you so much. I fully agree that new industries are not that easy to create from scratch, and the coming 5 years with the sources that we have. And this single point support is a kind of a trigger that can bring into motion another mechanism. A lot of money is already invested in the R&D sector, but we should go on searching for sources for new funds, because if we use up the funds we have and we don't create the industry we're seeking to, that would be a failure. I would like to see this from another angle. That the funds extended are repayable funds, is that the interest rate will be not 12 or 13%, but a lower figure. So this support is not very efficient. So we should single out an industry that will be our main client and customer. So as to demand, we know what is demanded. It's oil, it's chemistry, and if we look at suppliers of these kinds of services and goods, we'll see that what we have was developed in the recent 20 years. 5 years ago, we We had a professor coming to us from Dagestan, from a scientific institution, who told us we have an experimental equipment of hydrocracking that is more efficient than the equipment you have imported from abroad. Unfortunately, we could not do anything, but if you have customers who are interested, and if you can state what technical features your equipment has, we could use it in the future in 2017, 2018, and the foundation will be able to take more risky solutions. We're just not in a position to take such risky solutions. And of course, there is a certain problem with transportation. And other issues. We are constructing atomic power plants everywhere in Iran and China, and we use German equipment. We have internal demand for these things, and we should be more competitive. We should produce something that would be reliable and that would respond to modern requirements in the sphere, and use modern materials and technological garments for workers, and corrosion stable outfits and other things. So we should make it possible for people to bring these new developments to the notion of those who are interested. I've already told you there will be a couple of criteria when picking projects. And I would like to share my experience, and remembering the state plan of the USSR. In the first year or two, the Ministry of Industry and Trade will be demanded why they did not include this or that industry or sub-industry, and we've seen this millions of times in the history. So as to functional or infrastructural missions of the foundation, the most important ones are those of assessing, sizing up the loan taker, if the customer is reliable. And of course, we are talking here of certain restrictions worked out by the foundation. It's not a foundation that will extend grants. Of course, it works on the basis of credit repayment. And we have Cyril here in the audience, the head of the Foundation of Initiatives in the field. And all the projects that they finance on the credit repayment basis stick to the mode of multiplication. So the higher this so-called multiplicator for other technological branches is, the better. So we are happy to answer your questions if you have any. He's not speaking into the mic. Thank you. I'm from TV Polymer Composite from Primorye. We are producing composites. We've developed design documentation, are ready to implement the project of a high-tech, high-profit processing of basalt layers. So the question is for the Ministry of Industry and Trade. In March, we'll launch production of TO urine, and they analyzed our technology. A contract was signed by Mr. Kiriyenko for shaping a base of innovative materials and technologies. The application was sent at the end of March, and at the end of August we forwarded a special explanatory note to the Ministry of Industry and Trade. By the end of 2015, we'll make another attempt, and then we'll just go to Poland, where conditions are more favorable. You see, these bureaucratic obstacles, they just kill small businesses. We're small, we're not powerful, we'll just perish. And another question, so there is no communicating of data, or there's no information as to federal foundations. We work, we produce, we have profits. We've signed a contract on equipment with Poland. And thank you so much. I didn't hear any questions. There wasn't a question. What was your question? Once again. No, the question was. It wasn't a question. It was asking you a favor. Please support our project. Yes, and this foundation we're planning to launch was designed for such projects as you have here. And here's the director of the department that dealt with collecting bids for R&D research projects. So I think you won't be able to get on board. In this case, it's too late for you, but we could extend 2 billion rubles plus 40 billion. Yes, there was strong rivalry of projects, and those who did not get support could perhaps feel disappointed. Unfortunately, that's life. There was a special term for those who didn't get support, and we forward these unfortunate participants to the foundation, to the departments where interest rates are subsidized. So you send us a cry for help. Could you please specify what particularly tool of support you had in mind? Yes. After the session, please come to me to discuss tete-a-tete this issue. I would like to add that I don't like these questions. We're at the forum. We presented certain things, and if you don't have the slightest idea of the tools and the foundations that are widely spread, that are universally known, that means that you have very poor organization. And we have here people who went to Novosibirsk, to Tomsk, to Moscow, and there were meetings of directors of academies of sciences, and we received 15 bids from various stakeholders. So it's in your hands. If you don't look at the information resources, you don't use information resources that were created specially for you, then yes, then you need to start learning Polish. Rosnano Corporation has already financed 2 projects of basalt plastic production, and 1 project placed in Yakutia, not far from you. And
it's not a claim from you, no? I'm sure. I'm a representative of Innovative Consulting, RSPB. And it's very important that we will have such type of fund. This will be the fund of industry development, and R&D issues are not the solution for development of such type of industry. We need to work out the mechanism, special mechanism of R&D. How can we capitalize this project and to provide financing for this process? Because breakthrough solutions are not don't have such requirements, such ability to meet the requirements for banks. And the next remark: directions for development, the priority in this sphere, we need to take into account regional specific. They know better what they need to multiplicate, to make synergy for developing of industry. Industry is always a local thing, you understand? This is very important, and we need to create some kind of local representatives, representation sites to support such type of projects on the local level, and this is very important. And also, we have some additional proposals which we created together with our colleagues, and I suggest you will take them into account. So the next remark, please. I'm a representative of technology platform for energy, and I would like to ask a question: how are you planning to interact with your part with technological platform? Because Repair has a good experience of interaction, and I heard only one thing: to help in resourcing the project. Please develop this sphere. So this is the question for Ministry of Industry and to Mikhail Borisovich. I would like to first commend the first person. All instruments for subsiding, which I have already mentioned, were created as R&D inside of the framework of a project. R&D shouldn't be some separate thing. It should work inside of commercializing projects. This is the necessary condition for complex implementation of the project. And this is the task for our fund. And we are ready to do it. All great zones will be defined in the internal documentation, which will be signed and adopted of our observational committee. And we suggest you give us some proposals, additional proposals, so we will discuss everything and we'll take into account them. As to modernization, And about new affordable technology, together with other modernization processes, it will create some demand for technological solutions for replacement of imports. And I think that there won't be a lack of projects, and it will be based on our experience, which we already have in the part of expertise and election projects for further implementation into production. Borisovich, I think we'll continue. I would like to add that we are continue to work in this sphere. As Gleb Sergeyevich said, we widen the to attract a platform for export organizations and for organizations which will recommend us to engineering companies for expertise of the project. Gleb Sergeyevich said that our activity will be defined by expertise council. And I think it will not replace the current committee in the sphere of interaction with foreign committees for exchange of best practices. And it will be just continuation of our activity, but the focus will be on selection, the best returning interest rates decisions and projects. Maybe other participants would like to comment. If not, I would like to thank all our participants for such interesting discussion and wish you a successful day. Thank you very much.